Good evening, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. Now, the core principles of Christianity have been lost, and this is mostly because of the case that organized religion has created, under the status quo, it's created factionalism within the church. Wars have started up because of misinterpretation. I'm specifically focusing now on the Irish War. Individuals are being hated because of their religion, and certain stigmas surrounding churches have happened. Now, I'm going to go on, I'm going to give you the status quo, then after that I'm going to elaborate on my arguments. But firstly, just on the status quo, as we see, there is right factionalism within churches, and with one belief system, individuals, because of our interpretation, individuals are being more and more nudged towards certain ideas, and individuals are they're being more and more nudged towards certain ideas because of this factionalism, and ultimately choices being lost. Individuals that believe in, people that wars have started up because of religion. Wars have started up because of the same individuals that, or the same religion, just because of different interpretations of this. And I'm specifically referring here to the Irish War, in which the Irish wars between the Catholics and the Protestants, which many individuals were killed, and lots of shit happened. You see that individuals within this certain society are hating one another, or disliking one another, when ultimately Christianity is supposed to be there to create love for one another and create peace and harmony and love for your neighbor, even though he might disagree with you. And we see that this is not the case. Now, this is not what Christianity stands for, and the core principles of love and caring for your neighbor have been lost. Now, continuing to my arguments. Now, the misinterpretation of the masses. Now, what we see is, in life, everything is subjective, and certain organizations have different interpretations of the same ideas. And individuals, because of their church, and because they don't know anything else, are being forced to believe something because the pastor went and said this. This creates that, this means that there's no choice, because individuals are not shown all the possibilities of a thing. They're not totally enlightened about a certain thing, and there's no choice. Individuals are never told about the different interpretations, and individuals ultimately are ignorant. Secondly, factionalism. Now, what we see is, because of different interpretations of this, of organized religion, we see that there's segregation within the church, and this, to a large extent, brings away from fundamentalism and for isolation of individuals from the church, or from the ideals of it as an entity. And this ultimately goes and creates this gives way so that small groups can. Small groups will be isolated, and this will create these individuals being completely off on their own, and this will cause, what's the word? Never mind. Okay. So, people are not being able to pick what fits my life best, and what we see with organized religion, and what we mean by organized religion, we see that individuals aren't being allowed to pick whatever they think fits them best, because they're being forced into a certain religion because of the church. The church makes them decide what they should believe, and they're not being given all the opportunities for, they're not being able to weigh out all of the different. I'm going to continue with this argument. As soon as I'm done, then I'll accept. Also, another point is we see that elitism with the church is rife, because individuals are now being allowed, individuals are now being isolated from other parties, and because of one organization, they'll have different levels within this organization of this elitism, in which people will feel that they're better or more important than the others, or that individuals are more likely to go to heaven, or whichever way you like to decide. Yes, I accept the argument.
In which way does the church force people to choose their religion?
Okay, so if I go to a church, because my father and my mother go to this church, I go and I sit there and I listen to what the pastor said, or to what the dominee said, or whatever you might call him. Now, this is going to cause that you are only listening to what this guy says, and what this guy says is right, because your parents said so, your grandparents said so, because your great-grandparents said so. So yes, it does force you to believe something. Now, continuing. we see that under organized religion we have a loss of the father figure, because your father, who originally, back in the 1840s, was the original minister and was the original Dwimni, if you want to call it that, he would go and he'd give his interpretation to the family, and it would be more tailored towards the individual. What we see now currently is that the main idea of Christianity as its focus form has now spread so wide, because now individuals will be forced by the Dwimni to believe a certain thing, where it was better tailor-made to a certain individual's choices back then, where your father used to give your preachers. Now we see that also it opens gaps for fundamentalism and extortion within the church, because we see that individuals are now being forced, we see that individuals in small church groups can believe whatever they want, and this gives them the gap that the pastor or the Dwimni might go and decide, okay, gee, I see scheming here, I see plans, and we've seen this many times where people have committed mass suicides, taken out bonds on making their Dwimni their beneficiary if they die. And we've seen that hundreds of people have gone and killed themselves, and then the Dwimni has gone and raked in the money because he's the beneficiary in because he's the beneficiary in their terms. Now, also there are certain stigmas concerning individual groups because of their differences in religion, and these stigmas create once again factionalism and just so much more negatively affect the church and the ideas of Christianity as a whole, which ultimately should strive to loving your neighbor and caring about one another. And we see that this is not prominent as it is with organized religion, and that's why we would go back to having a religion that would be more catered and tailor-made to the individual, where your father would go and he'd tell you what's right and what's wrong. And for all these reasons, we strongly believe in this motion.